A gloved hand lifts a sun-bleached ribbon from a tangle of gorse. Salt on the glove, wind in the throat, the ribbon rasping like a small animal. The tag sewn to its edge is cracked from sun. 4 faded letters stitched in uneven thread. What does the wind keep when everyone else forgets? Do you feel that? The question hangs as the ribbon flutters away.
Find a dark room, put your headphones on, and listen closely now. I'm Samnang. This is Nature's Dread. Tonight's story is called Windbound.
She, our volunteer steward, starts her mornings before most of the town has decided to wake. A battered Land Rover on sand tracks, a thermos that sweats salt, and a soft, steady rhythm of scanning. The scrub lines where the land catches what the ocean throws back. Kites live here in a curious way. Bright aerodynamic flags of other people's afternoons, shredded and stitched, and sometimes, it seems, keeping secrets.
After a storm one winter morning, she finds a cluster. Ribbons, kite tails, little sewn tags knotted into the thorn. At first she thinks beach trash, the sort of collection the tide and wind make of human neglect. She untangles 2 pieces, snaps a photo, and keeps walking. But then she sees the tag again. Same hand-sewn initials, same little repair stitch. It is in 3 separate thickets over the next week. Coincidence, she tells herself. It's just wind. And yet...
The second time she returns with a small notebook. She notices patterns. A blue and white stripe always paired with a frayed lime tail. An orange kite patch that carries a chain of tiny overhand knots. A certain repair made with red thread, thick and clumsy, as if someone with cold fingers tried to patch a hurry. The tags bear names and initials, but also odd sewn symbols, half moons, a crude compass point. The same combinations appear after particular storm nights, and slowly a directional logic begins to form.
Here's where the story deepens. I called 3 people I knew might make sense of this drift. A kite maker who reads wear like a surgeon reads bone. A textile conservator who can tell a repair thread from 100 paces. And a water rescue coordinator who knows how wind and current collude. Their voices threaded through what we were seeing. Technical, cautious, a little human.
The kite maker told me this. Fabric tells a life. The place where the cloth frays more, the salt lines, the way a seam wears on the wind side, it all says where a kite spent its hours, what kind of launch the rider used, and how the wind tends to fold a particular model when it hits a cliff wash. He leaned over a piece of cloth and said in that calm way crafters have, "Wind leaves a signature. It's subtle, but it's there." He warned, though, signatures are probabilistic, not proof. They point and whisper. They do not point and shout.
The textile conservator looked at the repair stitches under a loop and laughed softly, an amused, curious sound that suggested she loved salvaging meaning from thread. She mapped the fiber composition, said the red thread was likely polyester from a common outdoor repair kit, and that the slightly darker re-dye suggested a field repair rather than factory work. She explained contamination risks, how sand abrades, how sun bleaches, how algae can drag false dates across the weave. You can make an argument, she said, but you must always be honest about your margin of error. The water rescue coordinator brought us back to practicalities. She spoke in short, efficient sentences, training coming through. Debris, she said, drifts according to launch vectors and dominant wind events. A kite that tears near a cliff launch will often spiral out and snag in the windward scrub. But she was firm. Do not approach unstable cliffs. Do not attempt to retrieve or untangle anything that looks anchored. Photograph, note, and call the local Coast Guard. If something looks like evidence, preserve context. Don't move it. Safety first, stewardship next.
So we cataloged. Colors, knots, repair types, thread composition, tag letters. Over a season, the same patchwork we assembled after certain storm nights. A pattern formed that suggested directionality. Strings pointing back inland toward a narrow cliffed cove, where years before,
A kiteboarder named only in half-remembered headlines had vanished from a launch. The family had searched then. Volunteers combed beaches. The official inquiry closed with no body recovered. Here, in the drift, was a repeating alignment that traced, imperfectly, to that place.
This is the turning point. A relative, looking at a lab photo of a repair patch, told the steward that the patch matched one on a kite the missing person had been known to fly. The words landed like a stone. The steward faced a choice: publicize what she thought she saw, keep the pattern to herself, or hand everything to authorities. Disclosure could bring hope. Disclosure could contaminate an ongoing concern. Protection could withhold a lead. Everyone involved felt the tug of wanting to solve the puzzle and the responsibility not to break it.
She did the careful thing. She photographed, logged, and reached out to the Coast Guard and a regional SAR team. She described what she had, not coordinates, not sensational images, but a catalog of patterns, dates, and weather events. The rescue coordinator advised a controlled revisit by trained teams. Evidence, when gathered, had to be handled only by people who knew contamination protocols. I mention this not to close the mystery, but to show how care looks in practice. Restraint is a kind of respect.
Dawn on the day the train team returned, wind low, gulls polishing the air, the steward walking the dune lines with a flashlight. We move from field to bench in the story, the tactile change from sand underfoot to a small table where fabric is laid flat and catalog cards are filled. The bench smelled faintly of machine oil and washing detergent. Under magnification, the edges of a tag revealed thread patterns, a repaired tear, microscopic salt crystals. The sequence we'd seen on the shore aligned, directional, suggestive, still not conclusive. At one point, the steward brushed a piece and froze. For a second, the mind supplies meaning faster than the data can keep up.
The climax is not an explosive reveal. It is a quiet, almost clinical moment when several small pieces line up. A repair stitch identical to the family's photo, a wear pattern consistent with a cliff launch, and wind data from the night in question that matches the direction implied by the drift. Those things together increase probability. They do not write an answer in indelible ink. The team communicated cautiously. This is meaningful. These are leads. Pursue them within the law and with professional oversight. Hope rose, careful and fragile.
Aftermath arrives as process. Official logs, interviews, the family feeling both steadiness and the old ache. Experts reminded everyone, textile matches and drift patterns are probabilistic. They can guide searches, but they can also mislead when treated as certainty. The steward felt relief at doing right and guilt for not finding more sooner. Communities learned about evidence stewardship, how to notice without handling, how to report without exposing, how to let professionals carry certain weight. The story leaves a new kind of trail, procedures, contacts, and the knowledge that the wind will keep telling its small stories if we listen the right way.
And then the last image, a single sun-creased tag, half buried at the waterline, letters blurred by salt and time. It looks like any other piece of drift, until you look closer and feel the human shape under the cloth. Someone who flew a kite, loved the pull of wind, trusted a launch. The tag does not name a verdict. It asks a question. Was this wind or memory or something both? Sometimes patterns become meaning. Sometimes meaning is only pattern looking for a home. If you're still here, the story has followed you to the end. A brief note before we close. Do not climb unstable cliffs. Do not try to untangle or remove anything that looks anchored. If you find something that might be important, photograph it from a safe distance, record the date and weather, and contact your local Coast Guard or licensed search and rescue team. We will include resources and step-by-step reporting guidance in the episode notes. This is how you notice without harming. For those curious about the technical side, remember the expert's caveat.
Wear patterns and repair typology can point to probable launch vectors and histories, but they are not proof of presence. Drift is a probabilistic record. It sorts, it repeats, it misleads. Treat these things as leads, not verdicts. And if you love the craft of it, textile forensics, aerodynamics, search strategy, there are ethical ways to get involved. Volunteer through official community SAR training, learn documentation practices, and always defer to professionals when safety or legal evidence is at stake.
If this story stayed with you, share it with someone who listens in the dark. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, check the corners.